In a small southern town, Nia, a talented black hairstylist, worked diligently every day, but earned such a low wage that she struggled to cover living expenses. Her life was a constant struggle, fighting both to maintain her passion and to endure the injustice coming from her own workplace. One day when Nia generously offered a free haircut to Jack Thompson, a white veteran with a tough exterior, but actually a socially outcast man, tragedy began. The salon owner, Linda Anderson, a powerful woman full of hatred and prejudice, abused her power to cruelly humiliate Nia, cut her pay, and ultimately fired her without mercy. Nia's small act was seen as a dangerous rebellion against a system full of prejudice and racial discrimination in the town. Nia left, carrying nothing but her remaining dignity, a deep pain mixed with helplessness, feeling trampled on simply because of her skin color. But what she did not expect was that her kindness awakened silent but fierce support from those who had been left behind, spreading through every corner of Millbrook, opening an unexpected door and unprecedented hope. Millbrook was an old southern town where everyone seemed to know each other. Yet it was also a society silently bound by class and race. Linda's hair studio was not only the most famous salon, but also a symbol of power and luxury reserved for the influential. Wealthy clients frequented it regularly, but few knew the harshness behind those walls, especially for black employees like Nia. Nia, 32 years old, was an artist with scissors and comb in hand, who had persistently dedicated many years, nurturing the dream of one day owning her own place, creating an equal space where everyone, regardless of skin color or origin, would be respected. But those dreams were often crushed by invisible but deep discrimination, expressed through words, glances, and the limits that Linda Anderson imposed like an invisible wall. Although Nia's loyal customer base grew steadily, mostly because of her excellent skills, her salary remained the lowest in the salon, and she was pushed into the most exhausting late shifts. Her attempts to borrow capital to open her own shop were all rejected by banks, because somewhere still existed a veil of prejudice covering black people like her, a painful reality in a town where power and money were held by a small class. One cold morning, Nia stopped by a small coffee counter on Main Street, sipping caffeine while preparing herself for a long day. That was when she saw Jack Thompson, a former military sergeant, hailed as a hero upon return, but treated as invisible in the community. The image of the 65-year-old man, skinny, with tangled beard and hair, worn-out clothes but eyes still sparkling with inner strength, was like a symbol of resilience despite being wounded. It was not the first time Nia met Jack, but this was a rare occasion when they exchanged a few friendly words, though both understood the social distance created between them. Two people, black and white, both feeling excluded from the warm embrace of the town. "Good morning, Jack," Nia said, her voice warm, mixed with some fatigue, her eyes gentle but somewhat worried. Jack nodded, adjusting his faded military hat. "Good morning, Nia. Looks like you need a cup of coffee," he replied, his voice deep but weary. Nia smiled lightly. "I'm making you drink it." "No one should miss morning coffee." Jack hesitated. "I'm afraid of bothering you." "Don't be polite." She waved her hand and ordered another cup for him. Jack took a sip, his eyes seeming brighter as the warm, bitter taste spread. "It's been a long time since I enjoyed such good coffee," he said with a sad smile. Nia couldn't hide her teasing. "Let me make you look tidier. This beard and hair are no longer handsome." Jack laughed but looked far away. "Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. You have to come to my shop for a haircut. I want to help you," she said sincerely. "I want you to know there are people who care." Jack looked straight at her, his eyes scrutinizing but also full of trust. "Your boss, Mrs. Linda, won't easily accept that." Nia quietly nodded. She knew helping Jack was a risk, even inviting trouble. Linda not only saw Jack as a social burden, but also regarded Nia's support for him as a direct challenge, especially when a black woman dared to touch the symbols of white power in the town. "Do you think you can endure all that?" Jack asked, his voice full of doubt. Nia took a deep breath, her voice firm. "I can't ignore it. If she wants to make things difficult, let her. I won't bow down anymore." Jack sighed, somewhat admiring. "All right, I'll come." The morning at Linda's hair studio went as usual. Nia stepped in, opened the glass door, inhaling the distinctive scent of hairspray and coffee. Wealthy clients chatted and laughed, flipping through glossy magazines, creating a sleek and luxurious atmosphere. But behind that glamour were fake smiles and eyes full of prejudice, making Nia unable to shake off her worries. She kept secret the fact that she had invited Jack to get a haircut, knowing Linda would seize the chance to punish her. It was not just about money, but also because Linda wanted to maintain the salon's image as a place only for people of class, meaning wealthy white people who did not want the presence of Jack, a once military man now poor and looked down upon, to affect her reputation. Nia worked tirelessly, her skilled hands trimming clients' hair. But whenever she glanced at the door, her heart was full of anxiety, fully aware that storms awaited her just ahead. Then, right after lunch, he walked into the salon. Jack stood at the door, his eyes scanning the familiar yet strange space, like someone who knew he didn't belong there, but still decided to step inside. The atmosphere suddenly grew tense. Laughter and chatter softened as if being stifled. A few women dressed in pristine white uniforms, noble clients in expensive outfits, looked up from their glossy magazines, exchanging covert glances, polite but unable to hide disdain. Nia felt waves of coldness spreading through the space, how people gradually stiffened, their eyes curling into forced smiles, as if trying to maintain appearances, while their hearts brimmed with prejudice. Jack paid no attention to those looks. He slowly nodded toward Nia, his eyes sad but resolute, then stepped firmly to the empty chair before her. Nia kept her voice gentle but full of determination. "Are you ready to let me work my magic?" He smiled softly as he sat down, shaking his head, his voice lightly tinged with tired humor. "No need for magic on this old head, but go ahead." Nia gently draped the cape over his shoulders, buttoning tightly at the neck, then placed her hand on his tangled gray hair as a promise. "Have you ever tried a fade haircut?" "Never," he replied briefly. "Then today will be a special day." The hum of clippers blended with the soft whispers of stylists and clients, but everyone's attention was fixed on this rare event. While cutting, Nia shared stories of her difficult childhood in Millbrook, about the years she fought daily to assert herself in a town where skin color was an invisible barrier blocking every opportunity. Jack nodded quietly, occasionally interjecting. "I once believed the uniform would give me worth, that if I gave enough, the country would never forget me." Nia paused the clippers, looked at him through the hazy mirror, her deep eyes seeming to seek an answer. He smiled bitterly, shaking his head. "The reality is, once I took off that uniform, once I was no longer useful, they forgot it all. They no longer saw the real me, only prejudices, stereotypes they imposed." A lump rose in Nia's throat. She tightened her grip on the clippers as if holding on to resilience. "But they have no right to decide who you are." Jack turned to her through the mirror, eyes serious yet warm. "And no one has the right to decide who you are either." Nia took a deep breath, relaxed into her work, letting the sound of the clippers and his words merge into a silent strength within her. When it was finished, Jack seemed transformed. The scraggly gray hair became neat, sharp, softening the marks of hard years on his face. He gently stroked his freshly shaved jaw, sighed. "Nia, I almost forgot what it feels like to look like this." She smiled. "Told you it was magic." For a moment, Nia forgot Linda's pressure, forgot the simmering tension engulfing the salon. There was only Jack, the man who had fought through hell, returned, and now was himself. Then the salon door slammed open, and Linda stepped in. She stood there silently, her eyes sweeping quickly from Jack to Nia, the cold smile fading, replaced by a sharp, judgmental gaze. She set her bag aside, lips pressed into a thin line, eyes betraying displeasure. The air seemed to tighten. The hairstylists serving clients paused, their movements slowing, waiting for the inevitable. Linda didn't look at Jack or say a word to him. Instead, she fixed her cold gaze on Nia, her voice sarcastic but icy. "Has he paid yet?" Nia felt a fierce pressure, knowing the tense moment had come. She replied calmly, her voice steady. "I said he already paid." Linda's face barely changed, but her sharp tone cut like a blade. He paid? So now our salon has become a charity giveaway? Nia clenched her teeth, trying to stay calm. But before she could respond, Jack spoke up, his voice calm yet sharp like a challenge. I don't think a haircut is charity. Maybe I missed the sign outside. This place doesn't serve people like me. Linda blinked, clearly realizing his unwanted presence. We only serve customers who can pay. Jack smiled faintly, a smile not quite joyful. Is that so? I don't recall ever being turned away while wearing my military uniform, serving my country here. Linda flushed, but Nia could no longer remain silent. I said I'll pay. If needed, just deduct it from my salary, she said firmly. Linda scoffed, a short, bitter laugh. Oh, don't worry, I'll do that. And by the way, I think I should add a nuisance fee. Because you know when a place like this gets too spacious with some special customers, those customers will make others stop coming. Nia's heartbeat felt strangled. She knew very well. That moment had finally come. But hearing each cold word, the contempt spilling with venom in every sentence, a fierce fire ignited inside her. Intense, burning, and unstoppable. She casually put down the clippers, each movement slow, but full of power. If you really care about the customers, Linda, she said in a calm but unyielding tone, then you don't need to worry about whether I'm still here. Linda's eyes narrowed slightly, sharp as a razor. What? Nia took off her apron, neatly folding it on the counter as if removing chains. I quit. The whole salon fell silent, the air heavy to suffocation. Linda looked at her as if she had gone mad. Oh, don't be ridiculous, she coldly judged. Do you think anywhere else will pay you better? Do you think people will line up to get their hair cut by... She paused, but Nia didn't need to hear the rest. Her words hung in the air, sharp as a knife. A black hairstylist who should know her limits and place instead of daring to rebel. Jack stood up, slow and steady like a man who had weathered many storms, his eyes meeting Linda's in a silent, powerful gaze. You just made the biggest mistake of your life, he said, his voice casual but solemn. Then he looked at Nia one last time before turning and walking out. Nia followed him, not looking back. The air outside felt dense, heavier than the oppressive southern summer heat. She had quit. The words echoed in her mind, not with regret, but like a cold, harsh ending. Years of enduring Linda's dark contempt, knowing she was the best in that damn shop yet never recognized, now boiled down to a single moment. Jack walked ahead, his steps steady, unhurried, like someone who had seen it all and knew nothing could surprise him anymore. He didn't look back until they had walked halfway down the street. You okay? His voice was calm, unreadable. Nia sighed slowly, shrugged as if trying to shake off years of burden. Ask me again in an hour. Jack nodded gently as if understanding her mood. He took off his hat, lightly stroked his freshly cut hair, eyes gazing down the street. Let's go. I need a drink. Nia gave a dry smile. You're paying? Of course. They went to Murphy's, a small bar tucked away on the edge of town, where people came to forget reality for a few hours. The bartender, a man named Vic who had poured drinks longer than Nia had been alive, just raised an eyebrow when he saw Jack but didn't ask anything. Nia took her first sip of beer, letting the cold bitterness spread on her tongue. The adrenaline still raced in her veins, but beneath it was an unexpected clarity. I should be panicking, she admitted, setting the bottle down, shaking her head. I just quit my job. No plan, no safety net. Linda hung that damn contract over my head for years so I'd never be able to start over. Now I'm broke. Jack took a sip of whiskey, watching her over the rim of his glass. You have more than you think. Nia forced a smile. How? Jack leaned toward her, placing his hand on the bar. You have a reputation. The whole town knows you're the best hairstylist in that shop, maybe the best in the county. Your clients don't want to sit anywhere else. And now, he shrugged, you have a story. Nia frowned. What do you mean? Jack set his glass down, his face thoughtful. I tell stories so people have a reason to listen. Nobody cares about what happens behind closed doors until someone makes them face the truth. Linda runs that place like a plantation, thinking no one dares oppose her. But today you stood up, and people saw it, heard it, Nia gripped the bottle tightly, the weight heavy on her mind. "That won't pay my bills," she said firmly. Jack's lips curved into a gentle yet profound smile. "No, but it will do more than that." Nia looked him straight in the eyes, suspicion clear. "What do you mean?" "I'm going to tell that story." His words were simple but powerful. Not just about what happened today, but all the years she endured Linda's unfair treatment, the quiet discrimination she suffered, and that she wasn't alone. Nia sighed, realizing many had been present in the shop that day. Loyal customers, gossiping women, and now the story was beginning to spread bit by bit. Jack tapped the bar lightly, ordered another drink, then said, "By tomorrow morning, the whole town will know the truth. And Linda," he smirked coldly, shaking his head, "she'll regret ever saying those words." The pressure in Nia's chest didn't ease. Instead, it transformed into a smoldering strength. She was no longer bound by fear or invisible chains. Though now without a job or plan, for the first time in years, she felt free, and that was the greatest power. The next morning, the town started turning its back on Linda. Nia woke up to a phone ringing nonstop, messages flooding in from people she hadn't heard from in a long time. Clients, friends, former colleagues, all now aware of the story. Overnight, Jack's article was published in the local paper early in the morning, detailing the prolonged injustice, wage gaps, and how Linda always emphasized that Nia was merely a worker, not a true colleague. But the ending in the article was the most shocking part. Yesterday, Millbrook witnessed a black woman, a hairstylist with exceptional skill and dedication, punished simply for an act of kindness. We have witnessed a business thriving on exclusion, asserting that power is the only thing they value more than money. Now the residents of Millbrook must choose. Will they allow such injustice to continue? Nia scrolled through the comments on social media, feeling a lump in her throat. The whole town seemed to have awakened, outraged. Linda's hair studio became the center of fierce debate, but in a negative light. Clients canceled appointments en masse, vowing never to return. Some demanded Linda's immediate resignation. The women who were present at the salon that day no longer remained silent. They talked with family and friends and quickly spread the story, more powerfully than any article. Linda's reputation began to crumble beyond repair. While Nia was still struggling to process everything, her phone rang, an unexpected number, the mayor. She looked at the screen before answering. "Nia, this is me." Mayor Benjamin Wallace's deep but firm voice sounded. Nia was silent, unsure what to say at first. "I've heard about the situation and read everything," he continued. Silently, she just sighed. "I want to meet you today," the mayor said, "because I believe Millbrook owes you a conversation." By noon, Nia sat in the mayor's office, facing him as he crossed his arms on the polished desk. Wallace was a seasoned politician, cautious and serious, but today his face was truly somber. "I'll be frank," Wallace began. "The matter with Linda is unacceptable, and it does not represent the people this town prides itself on." Nia raised an eyebrow, her voice slightly sharp. "Are you sure? Because to me it seems normal." His gaze grew more serious, but he nodded. "That's exactly why I want to talk to you." He leaned back in his chair. "This morning I've been in touch with many people, business owners, the town council, even my wife discussed this at breakfast." He sighed deeply. "Everyone is upset, and they're absolutely right." Though Nia waited for him to continue, she knew what he wanted. "The town wants to take action to make things right," Wallace said cautiously. "Some have proposed establishing a fund to help you recover, supporting you to open your own salon." Nia was stunned for a moment. She had dreamed of this day, recognition, change. But hearing it mentioned as a plan still left her surprised. She tightened her grip on the bottle in her hand, a nameless discomfort rising within her. "That won't pay my bills," she said bluntly. Jack's lips curled into a gentle but profound smile. "No, but it will do more than that." She looked at him, eyes searching, trying to see what was behind that statement. "What do you mean?" "I will tell this story again." He spoke simply but with great weight, not just about today, but all the years she endured Linda's injustice, the quiet discrimination, and that she was not alone. Nia sighed, realizing many clients had been present that day, the familiar women of the salon. And now the story had begun to spread. Jack tapped his fingers lightly on the bar, ordered another drink, then said, "By tomorrow morning, everyone in town will know the truth. And Linda," he gave a bitter smile, shook his head, "will regret ever having spoken those words." A new strength arose in Nia's heart, replacing the fears that had long held her back. Though without a job or a plan, for the first time she felt free, and that was true power. The next morning, the town turned its back on Linda. Nia woke to a flood of messages and calls, from clients, friends, even people she had lost contact with, all aware of the story. An article written by Jack was published early in the local paper, exposing prolonged injustice, wage gaps, and the contempt Linda had for her. The article's conclusion was what truly shook the town. Yesterday, Millbrook witnessed a black woman, the most skilled and dedicated hairstylist in the salon, punished simply for an act of kindness. We are witnessing a business thriving on exclusion and power, affirming that control is valued above money. Now, the people of Millbrook must decide, will they allow this injustice to continue? Nia read every comment, feeling a lump in her throat. The town had awakened and was angry. Linda's salon became a hot topic, but against her. Clients canceled en masse, vowing never to return. Many demanded Linda's immediate resignation. The women who had been there that day no longer remained silent. They spread the story, stirring the local social networks. Linda's reputation began to collapse. While Nia was still immersed in turbulent emotions, her phone rang, the mayor's number. She looked at the screen, hesitated, then answered. "Nia, this is Benjamin Wallace," the mayor's deep, firm voice sounded. Nia was silent, unsure what to say. "I've heard about the situation and read the reports," he continued. She could only sigh. "I want to meet with you today," he said, "because I believe Millbrook owes you a serious conversation." By noon, Nia sat opposite him in his office, his eyes showing genuine concern. "I'll be frank," Wallace began. "Linda's actions are unacceptable, and they don't reflect the people this town prides itself on." Nia raised an eyebrow, her tone challenging. "Are you sure? Because to me, that seems normal." Wallace's expression grew sterner, nodding. "That's exactly why I want to talk to you. This morning I met with many people, business owners, the town council, even my wife mentioned this at breakfast. They're all upset, and rightly so." He leaned back in his chair, his voice deepening. "The town wants to act to make things right. Some have proposed creating a fund to help you recover, supporting you to open your own salon." Nia was stunned, having dreamed of this day, yet surprised it was real. Jack exhaled deeply, eyes filled with determination. "Nia, you're not just opening a regular business. You're creating a new standard. What happened the other day, you saw it. This town has turned a blind eye too long. Now they're staring at you, and you must show them what is acceptable and what is not." Nia didn't look away, sensing a silent connection. No words needed, they understood each other. He was right. This was not merely about haircuts, but a struggle, a way to prove something greater. That weekend, the building officially became hers. It was nothing grand, just an empty room with 4 dull walls, a cracked mirror, and an old neon sign from the previous shop. But within that simple space, Nia saw the future. In her mind, rows of chairs lined up, the rhythmic sound of clippers buzzing, and each customer leaving with a radiant, confident look, like the best version of themselves. The building process was slow but steady. Nia firmly refused donations, given with pitying looks. Instead, she managed every penny herself, enduring hardships and leveraging long-standing relationships with suppliers. Jack's promise was fulfilled. He introduced her to skilled workers, painters, electricians, even an old friend specializing in interior renovation. The community began supporting her in simple but sincere ways. Someone brought an old but usable chair, a fresh coat of paint for a wall, or simply words of encouragement and belief. They did not come out of pity, but because they believed she deserved the chance. One sunny morning, the place was ready. Brooks' company hair studio opened quietly, without fanfare or speeches, just an open door and a commitment to something different. The first customers arrived even before the open sign was hung, then the second, third, and so on. By noon, every chair was occupied. Meanwhile, Linda's salon never returned to its former state. Customers gradually withdrew, employees resigned one by one, until she was left alone running a rundown shop, her reputation gone, maintaining it as a faint shadow. Within a year, Linda quietly closed it down. No announcement, no notice, just a silent end, a disappearance unnoticed for what once dominated Millbrook's beauty industry. Nia never looked back. One afternoon, months after the salon had stabilized, Jack visited. He leaned lightly against the doorframe, watching Nia trim a boy's hair, her hands steady and confident. When she brushed off her cape and turned, Jack nodded gently. "I told you so," he said with a warm smile. Nia smiled back, her eyes sparkling. "Told me what?" "That you are more than you think." She looked around the shop, the customers, the brightly lit sign outside the window, and the life she had built with her own hands. She knew he spoke the truth. This world is never fair to people like her, but sometimes with persistence and iron will, we can make it a little better.